All right, today we're going to talk about the art of the estimate. And I say art for a reason, because getting this right isn't about being a software wizard. It's about crafting a document that is accurate, that you can defend, and that tells a story so clear anyone can understand it.
Have you ever been in this situation? You look at two different estimates for the exact same damage and they are just worlds apart. We're talking thousands of dollars. It's super frustrating, whether you're a contractor, an adjuster, or the property owner. It seems complicated, but the solution almost always comes back to one simple, powerful idea.
See, here's the thing. A great estimate is so much more than just a list of prices. It's really a professional report. It's a narrative that guides a reviewer through a logical story. Here's what happened. Here's what we need to do to fix it. And here's exactly why it costs what it costs.
Okay, so let's get into it. What actually separates a simple price list from a truly professional, high-quality estimate? Well, it's all built on three foundational pillars that every single great estimator lives by.
First off, it has to be accurate. This means the line items you pick actually represent the work that's going to get done. Second, it must be defensible. You should be able to justify every single dollar with solid reasoning. And finally, it's got to be readable. It needs to be organized so well that anyone, even someone who has never seen the property, can read it and completely understand the story of the repair.
So, where does this whole story begin? Well, I'll tell you one thing, it doesn't start in the software. It starts on site, with what is hands down the most critical step of all, defining the scope of work. Now this is so important, because it shows you the two paths you can take. The wrong way, the trap that so many people fall into, is to just open up Xactimate and immediately start clicking and adding line items. The right way, the professional way, is to first inspect the damage, identify every repair needed, and write out a clear scope in plain English before you even think about touching the software. And look, let's be super clear about this. This is a non-negotiable rule. It doesn't matter how fast you are with the software or how many codes you've memorized, if the scope you're working from is fuzzy or incomplete, your estimate is going to be wrong. The scope is the foundation, and if that foundation is shaky, the whole thing just crumbles. Okay, so we've got our scope, our big picture plan. How do we turn that into an actual estimate? Well, it happens one piece at a time, with these little building blocks called line items. But what even is one, really? You know, a line item is way more than just a price tag. The best way to think of it is as a complete cost package. It bundles everything together: the materials for the job, the labor to get it done, any special equipment you might need, and it even includes the local market overhead for that specific trade. It's the whole shebang.
So knowing a line item has all those components is great. But how do you really know what specific tasks are covered by that one single price? You know, does paint wall include the prep work and sanding? Does replace carpet include tearing out and disposing of the old stuff?
And this right here, this is basically the golden rule. Inside every single line item in Xactimate, there's a detailed definition. It spells out exactly what's included, what's not included, and what other items you might need. Just reading this one thing is the best way to avoid huge mistakes, like double charging for something, or even worse, forgetting to charge for it at all.
All right, this leads us to something that trips up so many people when they're starting out. Why do prices for what looks like the exact same work change so much?
Just take a look at this. You might be in the software and find two line items. They both say drywall, half-inch, hang, tape, finish. I mean, the description is identical, but one is priced at X and the other is priced at Y.
Right? What gives? How can two things with the exact same description have different prices? It feels like it shouldn't be possible, but the answer is just hiding right beneath the surface.
The secret is that the price difference almost always comes down to these hidden factors, things you can't see in that short description. The items might have different internal codes for quality, they could be assigned to totally different trades with different labor rates, they could have different activity types, which we'll get to in a sec, or there might be really subtle but important differences in the official definition.
And this activity code? Oh man, it's a huge one. As you can see here, if you choose R&R, that's for remove and replace, the price includes labor for both the demo and the new installation. But if you accidentally choose install only, the software assumes the demo work is being paid for somewhere else. One wrong click here can make your estimate completely inaccurate.
And it doesn't stop there. There are a few other absolutely crucial things to keep in mind. You have to be using the right price list for that specific city or region. You've got to account for material waste for stuff like roofing and flooring. That's a real cost. And if the job is extra difficult for some reason, like, say, tough access, you have to document it.
Okay, so you've got your rock-solid scope.
You've picked the right line items, you've double-checked all those hidden factors. Now, how do you pull it all together into that clear, readable story we were talking about from the very beginning?
Look, the reason you want it to be readable is simple. You want to make it easy for the person reviewing it to say yes. When the logic is crystal clear, when the flow makes perfect sense, the estimate just becomes so much harder to argue with, and it's going to fly through the approval process way faster.
And the best way to do that is to group your line items so they mirror the actual flow of the repair work. It's so intuitive. You start with everything that needs to be torn out, the demolition. Then you move on to any structural repairs. And finally, you layer on all the finishes, like the drywall, the paint, the flooring. It just makes sense.
And really, that's what it all boils down to. This quote just nails it. A great estimate should never be a mystery. It needs to clearly and simply answer 3 questions. What was damaged? What are we going to do about it? And why does it cost what it costs? Someone should be able to get the whole picture without ever stepping foot on the property. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you sit down to build an estimate, stop thinking about it as just a list of numbers. Step back and ask yourself this one simple question. What story does my estimate tell? Because when that story is clear, accurate, and defensible, you're not just writing an estimate, you're proving your professionalism.